Have you ever questioned why it is that people in third world countries are actually happier than us? People who are arguably going through it, who are living in worse conditions than we are. They're going through famine, they're going through poverty, they're going through all of these horrible things. Yet somehow, they manage to be happier than people in first world countries. Isn't it funny how that works? And trust me, it's actually no coincidence at all. When you really understand the science behind it of how happiness works, how overall life satisfaction works as a whole, it starts to become a lot more clear why it is that these people are actually far happier than people in first world countries. I used to commit the same mistakes that literally almost everyone in every first world country commits. And it is literally impossible to commit these mistakes in third world countries. Or yet it's very hard. That's why you really don't see any life dissatisfaction or people complaining about how horrible their life is in third world countries. Despite their conditions, they're very grateful. They're very connected with their community. They're overall so happy. And we're like, how is it that we see people walking down the street of New York and they're all sad? They look like they just hate their life. They look very unsatisfied. They're just glued to their phone. They're super stimulated and depressed. And we look at people from third world countries and they're just the happiest people ever. They're so cheerful. They're so connected. They're extremely grateful. And once you understand why that is, you can empower yourself to defeat depression once and for all. But you must understand the underlying mechanisms of our brain as to why it is that people in first world countries are so depressed. I want you to give this passage a read right here. I read this from a book called Homo Deus, by the way. It's a really good book, really philosophical. I recommend that you read it. But there are two main reasons why first world countries are depressed and third world countries are not. Let me explain those reasons. First reason is going to be stress management, stress and emotional management. Let me ask you a question. After you go through some stressful event, you lose a loved one, maybe you have an argument with a loved one, or you just go through X thing. You go through a stressful event that bugs you. What's the first thing that you do? Do you go on Netflix, on TikTok, YouTube, video games? Does that sound familiar? Yes, as soon as you experience just the slightest bit of stress, you start escaping. Now, let's compare this to third world countries. When their people run out of money, when the weather is just extremely bad or they get injured because the conditions are worse, what do these people do to deal with the stress of that? Nothing. They literally do nothing. They give their brain time to process. They go work on something, on manual labor that gives their brain the space to process all that stress, to deload from that stress, to release it, to release the negative emotions, and eventually they're fine. Though they might not be fine physically sometimes, though they might not be fine circumstantially, they're fine internally. Because they let their brain actually process all of those emotions, all of that stress. You need to understand the difference between stress and emotional suppression versus stress and emotional release. When you suppress emotions and you suppress stress, what you are doing is stimulating your brain. You're trying to escape through YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, or doing something that involves a very, very, very high level of stimulation. That's when you suppress your emotions. Notice how I say suppress. You're not getting rid of them. You're merely suppressing them, and over time, those emotions stack up. They stack up. The stress, it starts to stack up, stack up, stack up, stack up. And what happens? It gets to the point where you explode. You have panic attacks. You start getting depressed. Not to mention the absolute detrimental effects that these overstimulation apps have on your dopamine. Dopamine allows you to pursue things outside of you, allows you to pursue goals. And you're destroying the very chemical in your brain that allows you to pursue goals. Not only that, You're suppressing and stacking up those negative emotions. Compare that to people in third world countries. They're not suppressing their emotions. They're not stimulating themselves with dopamine. So, on top of releasing the negative emotions, by letting their brain just be silent, be calm, not be stimulated, just feeling those emotions, on top of that, they're not releasing dopamine. They're not releasing all this dopamine onto this stimulation, onto this instant gratification. Therefore, they have the motivation to keep on going. They have the motivation to be happy human beings, satisfied human beings with the will to live. I hope it's starting to make sense now. The reason that people in first world countries are very depressed is very apparent. And you might be asking, what do I do about it? Simple enough. After you finish watching this video, I don't want you to scroll through any other videos. I want you to go get a journal, write down how you feel. Go to the gym, pick up some weights, and start pumping some iron. But let your brain have idle time. Stop going on Twitter, stop going on Reddit, stop going on all these platforms that are distracting you, bro. This is why you're depressed. This is why you have absolutely no mental clarity. This is why you have no motivation. You're depleting yourself of dopamine and you're not allowing your stress to be released. You're suppressing it right now. And sure, this might feel horrible at first because it's been such a long time since you released all of that stress that it just comes bursting out, and the first thing you're going to want to do is relapse. You're going to want to go back on Instagram. You're going to want to go back on Reddit, on X. But it is your duty for those first 2 crucial days, those first 3 crucial days, to not relapse, to allow your brain to process. I'm not saying to do nothing, but don't overstimulate yourself. Go have at the very least, 3 mental offload activities. You can have the gym, you can journal, and you can go for a walk, for example. But make it be activities that are very low stimulation, that allow your brain to idle and just process. This way, you will be very equipped to just process all these emotions instead of suppressing them like you have been doing this entire time. The second reason why people in third world countries are not depressed, and you are, is purpose. Let me ask you a question. When it comes to time of comfort, where you have it all, you have your roof over your head, you have food, you have the internet, you're connected to everyone, it is extremely hard to find purpose when your life is already in order, when everything is just already done for you. Meanwhile, people in third world countries, they don't have it so easy. They're working for everything that they have. Every little bit of progress that they make, they fight for it. They wake up with a purpose. A lot of people who are depressed, their main reason is just like, I have no reason to wake up every day, man. I just wake up and it's just like, life is meaningless. Because logically, you might be thinking, if we have it all, that just means we're happier, right? Wrong. Because when we have it all, it's harder for us to find purpose. Notice how you're never satisfied, how you always want more things out of life. We are humans of purpose. If we don't have something to fight for each and every single day, we will get depressed. And this is another reason why people in third world countries are never depressed, or you rarely hear of a case of someone being depressed. Here's a little stat from the book that I just told you to read, the little passage. If you go look back on it, I'm pretty sure the self-deletion rate in South Korea, right now, I think it was like, out of 100,000 people, it was 32. Something like that. But it's incredible. And in third world countries, it's only like 2 or 1 from what I read. Like, it's truly incredible. Like, this just further proves my points. When you wake up in a third world country, you fight for what you have. I sound like a broken record, but it is so crucial that you understand this. If you do not wake up and give yourself a purpose where you're at right now, because if you're watching this video, chances are you're in a first world country. But my thing is, please, if you don't already have a purpose, you don't have something to pursue in life, right now what I'm pursuing is YouTube. I'm putting everything into this, and that is my purpose. Every single time that I wake up, I go out for a morning walk, I journal, I go to the gym, So those are my de-stressors from whenever I'm doing YouTube. YouTube is a stressor whenever I actually make YouTube videos, but I have a way to release that stress. I'm not saying I don't enjoy YouTube, but just because you enjoy something does not mean that it doesn't release, like it doesn't cause stress. That's an entirely different video though, but you're supposed to have your purpose and a way to disconnect from your purpose. That is emotional and stress release. As long as you have those two things down, you will not be depressed anymore. I guarantee you that. Because you're releasing all of these negative emotions that you're feeling. You're not running away from them. You're releasing them through healthy, good activities. And if you have questions in the comments below, you can ask them. This community is very small, bro. I have 10 subscribers, all right? I will answer your question. Like guaranteed. But get these two things fixed. Fix your stress and fix your purpose. Go find a purpose. Do you want to build a physique of some sort? Do you want to pursue a career of some sort? Give it your all. That will be your reason to wake up every day. By the way, brother, if you want to join a Discord server filled with young men and women just like you who are also on their self-improvement path, you can go ahead and join that link in the description, all right, brother? And remember, a man who masters himself is truly free.